This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Happy New Year! So along with the Happy New Year, I always make videos during the new year to encourage people that either want to go raw or have been eating raw for a long time to continue the raw foods lifestyle and way of life so that you too can be healthier. So today we're not going to talk about the specific foods that you should be eating. You could check my other videos for that, but basically a raw foods diet should consist mostly of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, as fresh picked as possible, including wild foods that you know are edible. Grow your own and shop at your local farmer's market. It's always the best. So we're not talking about that stuff today. What we're going to talk about, probably even more important than just the food that you're eating, is something between your two ears. It's your mind, because your mind controls your mouth and it controls what you're eating. So your mind controls and dictates and chooses what you are going to put in your mouth. So it's much more important to conquer and manage your mind and think the correct thoughts, ask yourself the appropriate questions to encourage you at all times to continue on a healthy lifestyle that is rich in fresh fruits and vegetables. So today, we're going to talk about the mind. So let's get to it. One of the biggest things I see in raw foods and just life in general is that people focus on the past. They said, oh, last year, I wanted to go raw, but I fell off the wagon, or, I couldn't do it, or whatever. There was a McDonald's and I was hungry, so I got a hamburger or whatever, So the first thing to remember is that the past does not equal the future. Just because you screwed up every day in the past, just because you're a total screw up, or just because you screwed up occasionally, doesn't mean that that's going to happen in the future. The past is behind us. Put it behind us and leave it behind us. You can't change what you've done in the past. Focus on the present and the future. So what I would say is focus 80% in the now, in the present. If you have dogs or cats, they're like 100% in the present. They're focused on now. When you come home from work, they see you, they wag their tail, they're very happy to see you. They don't think that you're gonna leave in a couple hours to go out shopping, or they don't think you're gonna leave the next day. They're happy right then and there. When they're eating, they're engrossed in eating and they're loving their food. Hopefully you're feeding your pets well and a raw food style diet, minimally processed, because we don't wanna feed our animals processed foods, just like we don't wanna feed ourselves processed foods. So animals live in the moment. They're probably the extreme 100% in the moment. I don't even know if they think about the future. I'm not a dog whisperer or anything like that. But I would encourage you to believe and think that you should live 80% in the moment today and 20% in the future. Now, why should we live in the future? Well, we're not actually living in the future. We're setting goals and plans for the future. For example, if we lived all in the moment, you might just get the hamburger because you won't think about your health in the future, right? So we want to think about the future and have some goals and work towards those goals, and that's our 20% of the future, but 80% living now. So we want to eat things that taste good, but will also give us and meet our needs and goals that we have set for the future. For example, if you want to eat, a raw foods diet now, you're just going to have to go for it. And what I like to do is to break it down by day and not even think, oh, I want to eat, raw foods this year. No, man, that's a big lofty goal. If you mess up one day, you've screwed it all up, you could say. Instead of thinking the whole year, maybe think in a week's term. This week I want to eat half of my meals, raw meals, which is fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. Or even better yet than breaking it a bit down by the week, man, break it down by the day. Today I will eat 50% raw. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to eat more fresh fruits with every meal and, more salads or fresh vegetables with every meal. I'm going to start to juice and make smoothies so that I can include more of the fresh fruits and vegetables in my diet, especially the leafy greens. So break it down to the day and then by the meal. So if you break it down to the meal, that's the easiest thing to do. So you want to set achievable goals, very important. Instead of saying, I want to be 100% raw, and that can be very challenging to do, I would encourage you to set smaller goals to reach your larger goals. So for example, a better goal might be, by the end of the year, I want to reach 80% raw and eat 80% of my food raw. And so that's probably a doable goal. And so that's the end goal by December of this year. You want to do that. But start out easy. So maybe you're going to start out with, if you're coming from scratch and you've never eaten raw before, maybe you want to start out, add 10% every month until you get up to 80%. So this month you maybe want to eat 10% raw, next month 20% raw, and focus on the monthly goal, and then focus on the per meal to increase each meal just that percentage. And basically the tortoise and the hare, race comes into mind here. And one of the sayings I've heard Lawrence Gallant say, by the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So we want to do slow and constant improvement over time that we could build on, because it's no good to go all raw and then fall off the wagon, then be all not raw. And I've seen so many people do that, and I don't want that to happen to you. Those are the kinds of people that basically try raw foods, and then you ask them, oh, what about raw foods? And they'll be, oh, that raw food stuff, that didn't work. Well, that's because they didn't do it sustainably, and they couldn't keep it up. So they just went back to the way of the world, which we know is not better. So the main purpose of raw foods is to increase your fresh fruit and vegetable percentage. So besides living in the present, what are some other things that you can think about and put into your consciousness that's going to allow you to succeed on raw foods? Well, the big one I can think of right now is this: keep raw foods a secret. Yes, you heard me right. I said keep raw foods a secret. Don't start your brand new raw diet. I mean, I know you guys are all excited about raw foods because, you might think raw foods is a savior. Well, I don't know if it's a savior, but raw foods and eating a fresh fruit and vegetable diet is just natural. All the other animals on Earth do it. Think about it. I was watching National Geographic the other day, and these hyenas took down a wildebeest, and they were taking chunks out of the wildebeest while it's still alive. Now, that wasn't a pretty sight. I really felt bad for the animal. But just to remember that all other animals on Earth eat their foods fresh, right off whatever they're eating, whether it's the plant or anything else. So we want to do that too. And even though you're excited, if you tell everybody about it, all your coworkers and friends and family, what's going to happen is this, and I've been through it myself, and I've heard it happen to many, many, many people, and I don't want you to fall in the same trap. What's going to happen is this: they haven't done the research you have done on raw foods and know how beneficial it is. They're stuck in their ways and what they've been doing for a long time, probably throughout their lifetime. However long they've been living, that's what they've been doing. And anything different to change what their thoughts are is like weird. And you probably thought raw foods was weird too when you first heard it. I mean, I know I sure did. When I first heard about raw foods, I thought the guy was a whack job. So think about it. All your family and coworkers and other people that you tell about raw foods, despite how excited you are, they're just not quite ready to get it yet. So I encourage you to keep raw foods a secret, because your family and friends and coworkers can be your worst nightmare. They can be so supportive, but they could also really put you down because they just don't really understand about raw foods. So what I would encourage you to do is only to share the message of raw foods with people that are going to truly be supportive. So like if you have a loving family, husband, wife, or whatever that supports you no matter what you do, and I think that is really true love, then share it with them, because they will honestly and really be supportive of you. If they won't be supportive, then don't tell them. Reach out to the internet, reach out to people like me, reach out to local support groups on meetup.com and other local support groups in your area. Network at raw food restaurants and health food stores. Create a network in your area, start raw foods potlucks, and meet others that will also encourage you and lift you up and raise you up, because that's the most important thing. The constant feedback we get from the outside world constantly influence most of us, and that's really sad. I think one of the reasons why I've been very successful in raw foods is because I just tell people to screw off. If they don't like what I'm doing, screw off. And if my friends aren't going to accept me for what I do and for being who I am and what I want to do, well, you know what? Screw off. So I don't know, don't tell your friends to screw off or anything. I don't say that in public, but that's what I think a lot of times. So keep raw foods a secret. That's a major step in being successful at raw foods, because when you get constant badgering about what you're doing is maybe not right or whatever, it's just not cool. So do what you do. If people ask you, most of the time if people ask me, what I say is, oh, I'm a vegetarian. So if somebody asks me about my diet, I generally just tell them I'm vegetarian if they don't know me. I mean, obviously you guys know me and you guys know my teachings online and everything I do, and even me, I just don't go out of my way to say, hey, I'm raw, you should eat raw too. No, if they want to find my videos and you guys want to find my videos, I'm here blasting the message. I have a Raw Health Expo coming up July 23rd and 24th, 2011. Be sure to check the website, rawhealthexpo.com, where I educate people about raw foods. I also travel around and give talks. But I generally, in my personal life, I just don't really share that I'm into raw foods. People know that I grow my own food and I eat a lot of my own food that I grew, and then I'm a vegetarian, but that's about it. I really don't try to blast it into their ear, and I don't try to sell it on anybody because I'm convinced and I know it works, and I just share the information if people are willing and interested in hearing about it. So another thing that's really important to be successful on raw foods is your mental attitude. Having an I can attitude and having a positive outlook on things. If you think, oh, I can't do raw foods, it's too cold here, or I can't do raw foods, it's too expensive, or I can't, do raw foods because fill in the blank, whatever reason, because my husband or wife doesn't do it. You know what? That's just a lame ass excuse. And I said that, lame ass excuse. You could do it no matter what. You know what? Persistence equals success. So if you think you can't do it, you just got to have the attitude that, yes, I can, and say, you know what? John said, yes, I can, and yes, you can do anything that you want to do. All you have to do is put your mind to it, and you will find a way. I know many people that live in the cold and the snow in Colorado that eat raw food successfully. I know many people that, maybe don't have a job, don't have a lot of money, they're able to eat raw food successfully. There is always a way, and that's another motto that I live by and that has helped me do and maintain a 99.999% raw foods diet, is that I can, and there is always a way. So if you try something and it doesn't work, try something different and change your approach, because doing the same thing over and over and over again that doesn't work is, guess what? It's called insanity, and I hope you're not insane, because insane people are supposed to be committed. So if you don't remember anything else in this video, you want to remember this, because this is probably the number one most important thing to remember on how you could use your mind to succeed at raw foods or anything you do. And it's simply this. You want to be able to ask yourself a better question. So for example, if you ask yourself, why do I keep failing at raw foods? Then guess what? Your brain is like the smartest and most powerful supercomputer on earth. If you ask yourself that question, your brain will spin around and get an answer. Because you're a fat lug, or whatever the answer is, your brain will come up with an answer. If you ask yourself, on the other hand, how can I succeed at raw foods? How can I eat more raw foods? How can I have fun eating raw foods? How can I eat raw foods with not so much money? Whatever the question you ask, your brain will come up with an answer. So come up with good questions and you will get a good answer. So the last way we're going to talk about how to succeed at raw foods using your mind is simply this, is you're going to notice how you feel and memorize how you feel after you eat certain foods. So this is like the carrot and the stick, right? When you eat something good and it's raw, hopefully you're going to feel great. You're going to feel like you're on top of the world. You have so much energy. You could do what you want to do. You're shedding the pounds and you just feel euphoric. And now when you eat something maybe not raw, like cooked foods, and you know what raw foods can be like, you eat some things that aren't so good for you, how do you feel? Maybe you feel lower, you feel low energy, you feel depressed, maybe you feel heavier. Whatever your feelings are, you want to lock those and memorize those feelings. So before you pick up and put something in your mouth, you could associate, okay, if I eat the hamburger, I'm going to feel like, I'm going to feel like a fat lug. I'm going to feel like I have no energy. I'm going to feel like I want to take a nap. When you have raw foods in front of you, you can then think, oh, here's some raw foods. I could eat that and I could be on top of the world. I could have a lot of energy to do whatever I want to do. And so it's very simple. So by using the techniques in your mind, you can be more successful at raw foods in this brand new year, or any time of the year that you guys are watching this video. So be sure to check my other videos for more education on how to succeed at a healthy raw foods diet. Once again, this is John Kohler with achievable.com. We'll see you next time, and keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. And remember, you can do it!